Hello, and welcome to the Guilbault Girls Show, where you will have the opportunity to hear from mothers, fathers, siblings, and individuals themselves about their journey of living with a disability. I know, it's called Guilbault Girls, but we have a bonus for you as we get the Guilbault boys to interview some of the dads and siblings and get their perspectives too. We'll also have special guests from time to time to share the many resources that are available to those living with a disability and their families. So get ready to laugh, smile, cry, maybe even get a little angry when you hear some of these stories of their day-to-day struggles. But let's not forget their many triumphs. As they say, it takes a village. And if it weren't for our village, we wouldn't be where we are today. So join us. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Guilbault Girls Show. I'm your host, Karen, and my daughter, Faith. Yep. And today's guest is Alex Barone. Did I pronounce that correctly? Okay, yes. Good. Actor, producer, writer, advocate, and mentor. Alex resides in Los Angeles, but is originally from Baltimore County, Maryland. So I actually first read about Alex on Gamut Management's Facebook page for Talent Tuesday. And Faith's been involved with Runway Dreams and Gamut since the very beginning. So, but I got excited because then I saw that you were from Baltimore County, because that's the next county over. And that's also where Faith attends school at the Maryland School for the Blind. So I just thought that was really cool. So anyway, a few weeks went by and Faith had attended a workshop, which was through Gamut with the Casting Society of America. She then submitted an audition and was selected with several others to have one-on-ones with different casting directors. So we're sitting in the little Zoom waiting room, if you will. And all of a sudden I'm like, that's Alex Barone from Baltimore. So I was like, no way. So then I, of course, had to message you and we've connected several times here and there since. So I think that was pretty cool. So first of all, thank you so much. I know that you have a busy schedule. So thanks for taking the time out of your schedule and being here with us today.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me. This is very special. I never get to interview with a mom and a daughter and a whole family unit. So I'm excited.
Well, cool. I'm excited too. So instead of me listing all of the amazing projects that you've been a part of and the many talented people that you've gotten to work alongside, like Michael Keaton, Hillary Duff, and then the latest Mila Kunis in The Luckiest Girl Alive, we would actually love to hear it from you and how it made you feel to be on set, bringing some powerful storylines to life. Because it's amazing. But before we go into that, I want to start from the beginning because you've had one heck of a journey for sure. And we would love to share it with the listeners.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. So if you want to start with your childhood, maybe share with us some of the, first, the name of the disability that you have, what you were born with, and what were some of the physical challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome some of them?
I was born with a condition called Fibular Hemimelia. I was born in Baltimore, Maryland, born with this condition. My mom was very young when she had me. She was just turned 18. Had the condition. She was studying to be a nurse at the time. So I think she was really intrigued by me having a difference. Fibular hemimelia, what it is I was born without the fibula bone in my right leg. So my right leg, I call it my chicken leg, is a lot skinnier than my left leg because it doesn't have that kind of backbone which carries all the meat and the calf and everything.
Okay.
And in addition to that, I was also born with 3 fingers in both hands, like a Ninja Turtle. Mm-hmm. The hands, I never had any surgeries on or anything like that. They've never been an issue for me. I think when you're born with something, you kind of just learn to adapt and live life without it. So I wouldn't know any difference. The leg, though, was the thing that gave me all the issues with surgeries and all that. So because I was born without the fibula bone, my right leg was also several inches shorter than my left. So they wanted to amputate when I was a kid. But fortunately, we had just moved into a new neighborhood around the same time they said they wanted to amputate. And our next door neighbor had saw that I was wearing a lift, which is the big thing in your shoe to make my legs equal length. The neighbor was like, "Oh, wow, we just started this thing at the Rubin Institute of Advanced Orthopedics in Baltimore, Maryland, called limb lengthening. And it's where they stretch your bone out to make it equal length." So we ultimately met with the doctors and figured all that out. And then I decided to do limb lengthening route instead of the amputation. So because I was growing at the time and I was a kid and I had all those surgeries between 7 and 15-ish years old, I was growing. So my right leg was always playing catch up with my left, no matter how much they stretched it out and tried to equal it. Ultimately, they had to stop the growth of my left leg so my right leg could catch up. But flash forward 43 surgeries later, equal length in both legs, healthy, strong, no issues at all. So super grateful.
When they lengthen them, what did they do? Did they put like those halos in them and like do the?
Yeah, they do look like metal halos.
Yeah, well, her friend Allie that she roomed with at Kennedy Krieger. So Faith had both of her fibulas and her tibias broken and rotated. Oh, wow. So, and had metal plates and screws, and then had 2 different surgeries to her feet. So her roommate, basically, instead of breaking them and doing that, they decided to put the bolts and nuts and the halo around, and every day she had to like turn it so many times, and it was on both legs. That
must have been tough, both legs at the same time.
Yes, but she was a champ through it. Like she would move them around like nothing. Like, how could you do that?
I know. Well, you get used to this big heavy thing on your leg after a while, but it's called an external fixator.
Yes.
And they also do them internally, but when I was growing up, they didn't have all the internal stuff just yet. So it was all external, like your friend Faith. And every day my mom had to follow what looked like an algebra list of numbers, and you twist and you turn and you tweak these little things that are on your leg, and ultimately that stretches out the bone. So it's pain. The only painful part was the twisting of it, and then it was called pin care, which was like it's kind of gross, but you have to push down the skin so it doesn't build up around the bolts going through your leg. And then during the winter time, growing up on the East Coast, slipping in the ice when you're trying to get out to therapy or to the car and falling. And then, because, external fixator, anytime you bang that thing, it rattles your whole leg and it bleeds. So good times.
Oh my gosh. So if I remember correctly, I believe you said that you were bullied when you were growing up too. Mm-hmm. How as a kid did you handle that? Like looking at it now, back then, like, do you wish you would have done something different, or do you wish there was more people that would have stood up for you? Like, how'd you deal with all that?
Yeah, I don't think like
cruel.
I know. Well, yeah, they can be, but I also think they don't know any different at the time, especially when I was growing. There wasn't a lot of people like me growing up. Nowadays, there's so many resources, and there's camps, and there's organizations, and there's, you walk down the street and you see other people that are, different like you. So it's more common. I feel like I didn't really know anybody else like me growing up. Mm-hmm. But I don't think I would change anything, because ultimately it kind of led me to, the grit and the internal, external strength and everything I have now that makes me. If I didn't go through the kind of those emotional roller coasters as a kid, I don't think I'd be the same. But you asked how do I deal with it? I think like a mix of things. You get mad. You've gotten a lot of like fights trying to defend myself, or and my family stood up for me a lot. My brother stood up for me a lot. My friends, and then there's just like sometimes I think in your own head, maybe people aren't saying anything or bullying you. It's just in your own head. You think that because you're so self-conscious and insecure. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure it was a combination of all that, but you just keep experiencing and living, and then ultimately gain more confidence. And then it just kind of stopped bothering me after a long time. And it became cool, to be different. Yeah.
That's the good thing about private school is you're so close to it. No one bullies each other.
Yeah. There's not a lot. I think you only have like maybe 200 kids in your school. And the first year she went, I think she only had like 4 or 5 kids in her class. And then this year, I think she has 8 in her class.
That's a small class.
9. So they really they really get the attention that they need, and they know how to teach them with cortical vision impairment. And you know what I mean? So it really benefits her in the long run. So
you must have a lot of friends there, Faith. Everybody kind of knows everybody if it's that intimate, that small.
Not really. Most of my friends right now are on like acquaintances because we're all on different levels, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah. So with her developmental delays, she's at a lower academic level, but her social is way up here.
Yeah.
So it's very hard when she goes in with kids in the class because she's the most social out of them, but it's harder to catch up academically, if you will. So she really enjoys when they have some of the different social clubs, and they just started on Thursdays. What's the name of that program? Rocks. I don't even know what it stands for, but it's
Women rotation empowerment or something like that. I don't know.
But they work on all kinds of different skills, skill sets and leadership. And
there's even like self-defense classes.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool program when they sent it home to me. So I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. So far she likes it. Absolutely. So let me see.
Cool, Faith. Well, you know what? I never did too well academically either. The social thing, I think, will get you further in life, especially for doing stuff like this, podcast, being able to talk and meet people. You're a social butterfly.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So, all right. So, talking about your siblings, how many siblings do you have? What was your relationship like growing up with them?
I'm super tight with my siblings. I have 3 siblings, so I'm the oldest. I have a brother, Devin, who's a year 9 months younger than me. My sister.
How old are you?
I'm 33.
33. Okay.
Yeah. So my brother's 31. Yeah, 31. And then my sister's 5 years younger than him, Miranda. She's 26. And they have the same birthday, Devin and Miranda, but they're 5 years apart, which is cool.
That is really cool.
And my baby sister, Sophia, is 3 years younger than Miranda. So she's 23.
Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. And we're all really tight. Yeah.
That's good. And then what about growing up? Do you ever felt like and I hate to use the word resent because that's not really the word that I'm looking for, but, just because obviously your mother had to take care of you and you had a lot more needs than them. Do you think they ever resented it or felt like left out?
I never felt that from them. I didn't think about that growing up. I really only started thinking about that when I started watching the siblings group and being a part of that at the camp that I work with. Mm-hmm. But growing up, no, I guess I was just kind of in my own head and didn't think about time being taken away from my siblings or anything like that. But I'm sure they, like you said, I don't think resent, but yeah, that's not I'm sure word. They felt a little bit like, Al, this freaking surgeries and whatever, like I just want mom to come watch me at a game or something like that. I'm sure they felt, and now I feel bad. So I'm going to call them after this and tell them I love them.
Oh, no. See, I didn't want to make you feel bad. But that's what even like when I interviewed my son too, like, I know there was times where I was so tired when he would ask me, Mom, come lay down with me for a little bit. And I was so tired after doing everything. I'm like, right. Oh God, I still have to do X, Y, and Z. I'm like, if I lay down with him, I am not going to get up. I'm not going to get it done. So there's so many times where I'm like, oh, I went in, literally was in for a second, gave him a hug and kiss. All right. Where I wish that I would have taken that time now.
Sure.
But, and again, he's never resented it. There's times where he felt like, oh, well, if not, then he would go to dad if he needed something or, but, yeah. But I think always as a mom, I always feel that guilt a little.
Feel like that.
Right. No, exactly. I don't want them to, and they shouldn't be. And the thing is, they wouldn't have it any other way. And like everybody that we interview, it's like, they know no different because that's what their life was. That's their sibling that, that you guys fight and laugh and do everything like normal siblings do. Right. And really, to be honest, it made them better people inside because they had more patience. They had more empathy. Definitely. They learned to stand up for other people because they went through it, having their siblings go through it. So they're like, to me, I think it only has made them better.
100%. Yeah. Just, and being able to see, the surgery, all the pain and everything that came along with it. Yeah. So they, like you said, they understand where you're coming from, and it opened their eyes, I think, too, and made them more resilient people.
Yeah.
As well.
Absolutely. So you said you had 43 surgeries. And what span was that from? What would you say, like 7 to 13 or something? What did you say the span was?
I think it was 7 through 15 was my last fixator, like the external fixator halos. Mm-hmm. And then a couple after that as an adult, just random things like tearing a meniscus in my knee from sports or what else? Yeah, I had an ankle fusion when I was 19. Mm-hmm. so yeah, about 41 in between 7 and 15, and then a couple after that. But
That's insane.
knock on wood, all good now.
Did she?
Mhm.
And so, they don't foresee any other surgeries in the future with your leg lengthening or anything like that?
No, I mean, I could do everything that I'd want to be able to do as far as running and sports. And I do a lot of jujitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, which is nice. And no pain or anything like that. I think ultimately I'll probably have some sort of arthritis or something, hopefully a long time from now. But I think I'm healthy and good now, and just keep taking care of myself and all that stuff.
That's awesome. So tell us, how did you get into acting, and what was it always your dream to make it to Hollywood? Tell us that story.
I think that I spent a lot of time during those surgeries, homeschooled or sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
And I watched a lot of movies, I think, especially in the hospital or just sitting in bed recovering. And I was always fascinated by it. I was very insecure as a kid and introverted at school, and would hide my hands. And I tell people that I used to hide my hands so much in my pockets that my mom sewed my pockets shut for me, which is a nice thing to do. Not at the time.
It really is when
I
you're
love
looking back at it now, but at the time, not so much.
And or hiding my legs, wearing pants when it's like 110 degrees out, and scared people would see the lift that I had before they were equal length, and my chicken leg and all that. But so I spent a lot of time watching that stuff. It wasn't until high school that I did theater class and acting classes, like a random elective, and I connected with it. I thought it was cool. I felt like it was a good escape from my own insecurities, kind of portraying other characters and putting myself in someone else's skin. And I just really connected with it. I kept doing it the rest of high school, and then in college did some theater and stuff, and took acting classes after college, and moved around a bit to North Carolina to study acting, to Florida to study acting, and then ultimately to full-time to Los Angeles.
Wow. And I was telling Faith, because she was, I had to tell her.
I'm obsessed with One Tree Hill. I watched that thing like 3 times.
One Tree Hill. I was like, look, I saw in one of his articles that he worked on One Tree Hill as a background, and she's like, oh my God, loved that show.
Really?
She'll still watch it back.
It's funny. It was like one of the biggest shows of all time.
Yeah, it was. Oh,
that's what my buddy and I, right after high school, moved there. He had family in Wilmington, North Carolina, and they had a big studio there called Screen Gem Studios, and they would do Dawson's Creek and One Tree Hill there. And that's how we made our living for a long time, was doing background work for shows like that. It was a really good time. And it opened my eyes to what happens in front of the camera.
Yeah, I actually did. I was in, oh my gosh, this is really bad, because now it when Kevin Spacey was in it. Oh my gosh, what the heck is it?
Oh, House of Cards.
Yes. So they, of course, they film right here. So they did one on Hartford Community College. So I went. It was a long day.
It was like 6 in the morning. I'm like, are you
By the time I got home,
and I got a text, and I was like, okay, I'm going back.
No,
a lot
it
of
was probably
sitting
about
around,
1 o'clock
right?
in the morning. But yeah, a lot of sitting around. But it was crazy, because just the amount of time, and like how precise, they had to have the lines up there, and the chairs had to be just so on the lines, but everything was spaced out. And then at the end of the night, they were doing where they moved everybody in the into the different sections to make the crowd look full. And I'm like, this is so cool. I'm like, and we met several, I met several people and ended up becoming friends with them outside of it. And
cool.
So it was a cool experience, but it was neat to see how huge the cameras were and how long they have to move the plywood and do this and that. I'm like, wow.
A lot of pieces to the puzzle.
Yeah.
What's cool in those sets is they usually feed you pretty well.
Yes. I do have to say that the food was amazing.
Yeah.
And they always had snacks to give you too. So that was cool. So can you share some of the projects that you've worked on and some of the people that you've worked alongside with?
Yeah. So one of the earliest things I worked on when I moved out here was my own show, actually, which was really cool. It's called A Little Different. I met this horror film director, Eli Roth, and we collaborated on projects and ultimately came up with this one called A Little Different, where I would be the host and I travel around Southern California and meet people with some sort of abnormality or I guess disability or difference, but have a really special talent. And then I would try the talent with them and ultimately fail as the as the host. But it was a really cool, inspirational show and did really well on his network. And met a lot of interesting people. Met, for instance, this one woman, Jessica Cox. She's a pilot, and she flies planes with her feet. So
I think I watched that episode.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah,
it's
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's like I don't know if you know him, but his name is George Dennehy, I want to say.
And Miguel, he plays a guitar with his.
Well, no, that's George Dennehy. So in Chesapeake City, they had I don't know, a whole bunch of different people come in and play. And he actually, I can't remember, he was born in another country. I can't remember what country it is, but with no arms. He plays guitar with his toes and his feet. I'll have to send you the link. He is freaking amazing.
awesome.
And he's a motivational speaker. He got to play with a couple bands, and like, yeah, it was amazing. It is amazing to see what you can do.
Yeah, I mean, there's really, no limits. I feel like that was a huge full circle moment for me because I had moved out from the East Coast to pursue this thing, and I didn't know if I could be an actor with my hands and all this. So it felt very full circle that I was able to create this TV show and just be me with, and introduce other people that were different, and that be kind of the on-camera persona, but I didn't have to really act or be different. I just had to be me, and that was enough. So I feel like that was a major confidence booster.
Yeah.
For first coming out here. Absolutely. And then, acting's a roller coaster. So then after that, I was like, you know what? I made it. I just worked with you later on. Calls are going to be coming in, offers. But then no, you kind of start from the bottom and work your way up as far as finding an agent, a manager, and thousands of auditions and hearing no and all that. And past few years really has been great. Some of the projects have been Dopesick with Michael Keaton, like you said, which was surreal to work with Batman. How I Met Your Father with Hillary Duff, who was my crush growing up. / still.
That's awesome.
The Rookie.
My husband loves that show.
Yeah, it's a great show.
And then they just came out with a new one. The new one, it's the Rookie, the
Feds.
Yeah, it's Rookie Feds
spin-off.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did do one theater play.
Did I what?
I did do one theater play.
Oh, you did?
School, and the first time my face was red and I said nothing, and the second time I did great. Everybody was like, "Wow!"
Yeah.
She really has a personality.
What was the play?
Mean Girls.
Mean Girls.
What? That's a play? That must have been a cool play.
Yeah. But I'm like standing behind. I'm like, oh my gosh, please remember the lines. Please remember the lines. I'm like, go, go, go. The first, and you could tell the first night she's like, then the second night she nailed it. I'm like, okay, good.
I don't think my teacher liked me very much then.
You know what? There's other people that mess up too. You're always gonna. It's a learning curve.
Yeah. And for the most part, most people don't even know. The audience doesn't know you're messing up. Only you know you're messing up.
Exactly.
So did you like live performance?
I like watching it.
You like watching it better?
Yeah.
And it takes her a while when she gets to know, she'll practice and so she'll do the lines, but then I'm kind of doing more editing in it, because then she'll kind of forget because, with her processing, sometimes, she can't remember long, big lines,
Same. I'm with you.
Yep. So, but she does good.
I practiced until I fell asleep 20 times.
You did good, though. So, and then tell us about your latest project that you just did. Luckiest Girl Alive.
Yeah, Luckiest Girl Alive. We shot last summer, and that just premiered on Netflix early October, and it's doing really well. It's heavy content, heavy film based off a novel, based off the writers, some of her true story. So it hits close to home for a lot of people.
Yeah.
not in a good way, but it's impactful and powerful in a way that I think a lot of women are able to speak up
about it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm really proud to be a part of it. And that was just a surreal experience, being in a different country for a few months. We shot in Canada and filming and being around all those, talented people, and just the whole process was amazing.
How nervous do you get when you like go on set, like, and meeting people for the first time? Like, that's got to be nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
I
thought I would
you're like
be
excited and nervous, but yet like,
Hi.
Yeah. I guess try to use the nervous energy into the scenes, but I thought I would be way more nervous than they were all so cool and down to earth, and that it didn't feel like, it didn't feel pressured. It felt like we were just kind of collaborating and working on this thing. And so it really didn't feel that chaotic or nervous at all.
That's awesome. That makes a big difference.
And we had Skyped. We had did table read virtually. Everything was pandemic time still, and all through this.
Yeah.
So we spent a lot of time over the Zooms and meetings. So in person just kind of felt like, oh, thank God we could be in person right now.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. Really. That's it. When we did her documentary, we went to go do the voiceovers in DC, and that was actually the day before the world shut down. And it was still already like very dismal. Like there was like nobody out, and then we're there. We're like, oh my gosh, they're shutting everything down.
Ghost town.
Yeah, it was like freaky ghost town.
I didn't try that.
Yeah.
Well, good timing being able to get in the day before.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So speaking of, tough subjects and stuff, really Dopesick too. Dopesick and Luckiest Girl Alive, they were both heavy subjects and subjects that need to be told. But I'm sure that, hit close home to you too, because was it your dad?
Yes. My biological father passed away from an overdose when I was young. And that show Dopesick is kind of about the opioid pandemic and how it rose and the people behind it and just the ripple effect of it all. And so, yeah, definitely hit close to home. And that was a special project to be a part of. Yeah, and I talked about that in the audition. I was like, this hits close to home because of my dad. And I really do think that's how I got that part.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Don't do drugs, children. Talk about your feelings.
She said, don't do drugs, kids. Talk about your feelings.
Don't do drugs. Talk about your feelings. That's right.
So what, and then what are some of your upcoming projects that you're working on now?
So the next thing coming out is another Netflix film called Shirley. It's about Shirley Chisholm, who's the first African-American congresswoman. That comes out, I think, like January, February, winter time, 2023 on Netflix. It's got Regina King, and it was directed by John Ridley. So I'm really excited for that to come out. What else? I go this weekend to New Orleans or to Shreveport, Louisiana to shoot a part in a horror film. So get ready for Halloween time. You like horror films, Dave?
They used to make me pee myself and give me nightmares, but not anymore.
Now you like them?
So funny.
Yeah, I love them.
So you used to pee yourself?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did making you laugh. When you laugh, you pee yourself. I still have her in choir. She's sitting there singing, and the little boy next to her, her friend has autism, and back when they were little, he was in love with her, and you could not get.
Thought I was Rose from Titanic.
Rose from Titanic, yeah. But like his mom and I, like, she would get him focused. Like anytime like he was gonna have a meltdown, she'd like, come on, walk her up, Logan, walk her up. And he would like hold on to the walker, and like she'd walk away with him and stuff. So I don't know, he was pulling his pockets out of his pants, and she started laughing, and all of a sudden she goes down, she puts her hand down like that because she was laughing so hard she went to pee herself. Oh my God, I have it on video. So yeah. You are funny.
The things you do when you're young.
And still do.
Still do.
Exactly.
That's Wonderland.
That's funny. That's $1 million video right there, Faith.
Oh my God. You are so funny. Okay, so let's go into No Limits Foundation. So tell us about that. Camp No Limits, and like, when did you first get involved? And
So it's Camp No Limits is it's a nonprofit, No Limits Foundation, Camp No Limits. They started in 2004 by the founder, Mary Layton. She was an occupational therapist. She was working with kids with limb differences at her job at the hospital. And then she ultimately found that she's like, where there should be a community for this, or, a place for people that can come together. So she ultimately created this Camp No Limits. It started with 4 kids, and now we have, thousands that come every year. And what it is, it's a traveling camp basically for youth with limb differences, specifically both congenital limb difference and traumatic limb difference. We have them all over the country. They're between 3 and 5 day overnight sleepaway camps. It's one of the only camps where the whole family can come with you, because
I think that's amazing, because you usually don't see that.
No. And it's so special because camp is special for the camper to see other kids like themselves and realize that they're not alone in the world, and other people, everybody's got their own difference. That's important for them to gain confidence and just be a kid and do that. But also the parents and the siblings being able to come with, because parents often do need the support and guidance from other parents, or you go back to the community and they don't have or know anybody else like them. So it's a really special place where kind of everybody can get together and connect. And we do all the fun summer camp stuff that all camps do, zip lines, sports, high ropes, banana boats, all the fun summer camp stuff. But what makes Camp No Limits different is we also have physical therapy, occupational therapy, and prosthetists that come in and kind of try out different running legs with the campers and everything, so they feel comfortable and confident doing the activities.
That's really cool. Now, do you go to all of them, or do you just hit a few of them, or?
Yeah, I get to go to all of them, except unless something comes up, like last year, that was the filming, so I had to miss the majority of them. But this year I got to do all 12 of them. That's awesome. Yeah, it was a blast. So cool. Get to be a kid.
And the camp and for everybody listening, there's a camp over by us that he comes to. And
that's right.
We were talking, Faith did a lot of those things. Yeah.
North Bay.
North Bay. Yeah, North Bay.
I thought it was Camp Fairley.
Oh no, we were looking into going to Camp Fairley. That's something different. That's their Easter seals. But the one at North Bay is all the 6th graders every year get to go. And
did you guys ever go to Camp Sandy Hill, which is right by?
It's right by there. I never have yet. Mm-mm.
Cool. So that's where I grew up going to camp. So it's full circle that now I'm an adult counselor.
Well, there back then,
I'm 19, so I age out of the camps at school.
Yeah, the camps at your school you age out of. But back when we lived in Cecil County, it was camp called Camp Care. And they actually used to have it at that what is it? Is it Sandy Cove?
Sandy Hill.
Okay, then I don't know that one. So I know Sandy Cove. I thought it was Sandy
unless they changed the name. I think it's
But that's where they actually originally years ago used to hold their camp, and then they moved it someplace else. Yeah, interesting.
That is cool.
We're looking into a camp for her this summer. So we're looking into Camp Fairlane. It's huge. Awesome.
So that way I don't have to have nursing services come in because it gets boring.
Because it gets boring having. So if she's here with her personal supports, sometimes it gets boring because they run out of things to do. So she goes to the camp. It's sleepover, and they have all that kind of stuff.
I feel that. Yeah, it's recharging to get away and.
Yeah, I meet new people too instead of being stuck in home.
Yeah.
So so you say you mentor them, and so you get to work with individuals. You get to work with the siblings too.
I don't do too much of the. So when we break up into these groups, these support groups at camp, I kind of take on the teen boys. We break it up by gender and age and everything, and I'll take kind of the teen older boys groups and do that, and then somebody else will take the siblings. So I never really get to dive into the siblings group, but that the rest of the camps, doing all the activities, everybody's involved, and I've heard a lot of stories, to bring it back to what you were saying earlier about the siblings feeling left out or feeling overwhelmed with kind of being on the sidelines growing up and everything. So it's just so nice to hear. And we also do parent support groups. So everybody's kind of broken up and everybody's got their own support, and yeah, it's just nice to hear all the different.
Yeah.
all the
We
different
interviewed a lady from, I don't even want to lie, so I'm going to say where she's from because I completely drew a blank. But the name of her a nonprofit's called A Buddy Just Like Me. And that's basically what it is. So hospitals and places, they can't give you, people's information and be like, oh, I'd have the perfect family that you should hook up with. And you guys have a lot of similar things because of HIPAA, they can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So she's partnering with a lot of different places and she wants it to go like, everywhere. But basically you fill out questionnaire form, everything else. So they are pairing you with people like you. So you can have a buddy just like you, or you can have a mentor, and also doing the caregiver to caregiver. So she was saying her son has cerebral palsy like Faith. And I think they either live 3 miles apart or 3 or 5 miles apart. And within like 3 or 5 years, whatever, I just remember those numbers in my head. But they were that close to each other for that 3 or 5 years and didn't know it. And now like they have a buddy, it just goes to show you never know. And I think it's really cool because like you said, sometimes it's really hard to meet people that are kind of going through, and like Faith, she has cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy is just the scope is, it depends upon the severity and what parts of the brain were affected and how it affects you. So it's, no one person really is the same.
Right.
So it's nice to really find someone that's kind of on your, going through what you're going through.
There's people that need full-time care and part-time care.
Say it one more time, slow down a little bit.
Full-time care and part-time care.
Full-time care and part-time care for what?
For the levels that they need.
Oh, for the levels that they need. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. Some people need more help than others. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. What would you tell your younger self now if you knew what you knew now? Did that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I would probably tell younger Alex to just chill, not worry so much, because all the things that you think are happening to you will ultimately, you'll realize that they've all happened for you, to make you who you are. And there's no bad experiences really. It's just all part of life's journey and experience. And all the bad stuff you thought as a kid is the stuff that made me have grit and made me have resilience and strength and all that. And motivation for, the tough industry I'm chasing or trying to chase and all that stuff. So I would really just tell them to just be, I would say, be you, baby. That's what I would tell my younger self.
Love it. So one last thing before we wrap up, I had sent you a flyer for What's Your Word. So I
love that.
I do. I hand stamp with metal letters, one letter at a time, and I stamp each letter in for your word on a token. Yeah, it's through my intent. And so I gift all of my guests that just as an appreciation for coming on the show. So would you be willing to share what your word is and why?
I'm going to try to think of, now that I know that you hand stamp it letter by letter.
It's more meaningful, not.
Should I make a short word?
It can be long. I can be, well, tell me what your word is first. And then I'll be.
The first word that comes to mind is different.
Oh yeah.
And
there's plenty.
I like that. Is that short enough? Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's perfect.
I love that word because I feel like it's important to be different and stand out and not blend in with everybody else, and to accept being different, and that being different is a unique thing, and you want to be different because, like I said, why blend in when you were born to stand out? Yeah. I stole that quote, but but I think it has a negative like vibe around that word a lot of the times, but I think it's positive because it's not ordinary, like you want to be different.
Yeah, you don't want to be boring. You want to be unique. You want to be different. You don't want to be boring like the rest of them.
Different's good.
I
would love that stamped. Boom. Different.
Boom. It is done.
I wear that proudly.
Done.
Proudly.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm just so excited to have you on today and to get to talk with you and chat it up. And then hopefully when you are in your hometown, we can get together, even if it's just for lunch.
I would love to. Yeah. Trying to organize something around the holiday time. So we'll see.
Yeah, because I want to meet your mom too.
I'm not picky.
Yeah, you guys will get along.
Awesome.
And then next summer we can get some crabs next summer or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll drink the beer. You and my husband can eat the crabs.
Like crabs so
you don't like crabs?
I'm like,
she was pregnant with one of us and bar, and they were eating crabs, and she's like, "Can I get out of here?"
Yeah, it was all you can eat crab legs or something, and I was pregnant.
She was pregnant with my brother.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right, I can't drink. I'm like, all right. So I had a salad and whatever and steak, and I'm like sitting there, and they were just like eating and eating. I'm like, oh my gosh.
You're like, why am I here?
Yeah. But yeah, they love seafood. It's okay. I'll have a steak or something and a few beers.
Yeah. We'll get you some beer and some steak and salad and
some fries.
Yeah.
Since you have a stash of beer, I hear.
From we have a lot.
Tell the listeners before we end with that. So what are you doing?
So my buddy Kurt Yeager and I created this silly beer show called Tommy and Bobby, and it's about these two brothers that live in Boston and film a beer review show in their mom's basement. So we had about 100 and some beer companies ship us beer to do the show, and we review a different beer in each episode, and it's a lot of fun. So we know a lot of random beer facts.
That's so great. Oh my God.
And we're putting them out slowly but surely over YouTube and social media. So you could check it out on Instagram or TikTok or any of the social media outlets.
I love TikTok, but I do not know how to work
what? Instagram. Yeah. Well, I always have to make sure that she's on lockdown with TikTok, because she'll sit there and make a lot of different TikToks, and I don't have the time to sit there and go through each one. Like sometimes she'll like just wake up and do it, and I'm like, Faith, you need to like pull your shirt up a little bit, and so I'm like, yeah, I think she has a few friends and that's it, and so. But I do need to. You're a real
TikToker.
There's a lot of good content she puts into it. I need to really like go in and share some of it. But.
Yeah, you never know what content leads to, and meeting new people and. Yeah. Opportunities that come out of it. Yeah, definitely keep creating.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the show. Alex, thank you so very much.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us as we spread awareness through our personal stories and the many resources shared. You can help us by joining our village simply by sharing our show to the masses. If you would like to support the Guilbault Girls on another level, click on the link in the show notes to make a donation in any amount. Add your address and you'll receive a hand-stamped token with the word village on it in appreciation. Be sure to subscribe to our Guilbault Girls podcast and YouTube show, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Guilbault Girls. Till next time.